Can you start off by telling me, as best as you know, what happened?
You mean what happened to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so when you and I last met, I was already ill, but obviously completely ignoring everything. And things deteriorated quite soon after you and I last met. And it ended up where I was climbing a flight of stairs at my house and I just felt faint. And so then I told my wife, and we booked a doctor's appointment. I went to the doctors the next morning and they sent me to a hospital and I had lots of ECGs. And effectively I was in what's called stage 2 or level 2 heart block.
I'd never heard of heart block.
No, nor
Had
not.
you?
Yes, I had heard of it, but I had never put it next to my own experience. But I was in level 2 heart block. It's called Mobitz 2 heart block. So I was in Mobitz 2 heart block. So you go through level 1, level 2, Mobitz, and then that's like flashing red lights on the dashboard, and then the next one is stage 3, and that's altogether a different place, depending upon your religion. So, yeah, I was in stage 2, and eventually got kind of taken to A&E, and then put straight in cardiology, and yeah, I was in heart block. My pulse was 24, my blood pressure was 80/50. It probably wasn't a lot different from when I saw you, actually. I don't know where I was then on that cascading scale, but probably not far from that.
And this is serious. I mean, you've ended up with surgery.
It's potentially serious, yeah. 30, 40 years ago, I don't know, but you'd probably, that's, they send you home and, it's the quiet goodbye. Probably, but miraculously now there is a workaround, which is called a pacemaker. So after a week in cardiology, they put a pacemaker in, which I now have in my left shoulder here, and then some leads into my heart, into both chambers, atria and ventricle, and it's almost a curative fix overnight, So it's miraculous, frankly. And I knew I suffered from something called bradycardia. Bradycardia is it's a very slow heart rate. So when I was racing
But not 24.
Not 24. So, no. But when I was racing, my pulse was frequently 32.
Gosh, that is low.
Yeah. So I'm not sure about the science of this, Simon.
Yeah.
And I need to get better appraised about it, frankly. But I think there's an assumption that if you have bradycardia like mine, there's a risk out there that at some point, as you get older and things get a bit less taut, that that you could spill over into some kind of heart block, and I had. And so the only way out of that is a pacemaker.
Were you not embarrassed that having written The Midlife Cyclist, here you are now ignoring the very things you've told people not to ignore?
Thank you for that, Simon. Yes, of course. I suppose I would express it as, wonderful irony. Embarrassed, sure, but just incredibly, beautifully ironic, and just segued immediately into the book I was writing, which is about this kind of dissonance that people can have between how much control they think they've got and how they're occupying the world and people around them. And we all think we've got our shit tightly packed. Well, obviously mine wasn't. And it just alarming that at that moment I was writing a book on this very subject. That you can have a lived experience and a thought experience and a future plans, and how those dots don't always align. And so, yeah, I was drifting along in a world of dissonance, even while I was writing a book on this very subject. Wonderful. Embarrassed, yes. Bamboozled a little bit, but also it just kind of vindicated the book that I was writing, because every book is autobiographical, and if you can insert yourself into any book where it's your lived experience, it's better. I don't talk about this in this book at all, not because I'm embarrassed, but because it's, doesn't need to be that much about me. A bit of it is, but so I don't talk about it in the book. But the fact that it was there is amazing.
Were you angry that your body let you down after years of racing and all this sort of stuff?
Was I angry about my body had let me down? No, I was frustrated a little bit. I kind of knew this was out there at some point, in a way.
Or part of you knew?
Yes, some part of me knew. Nicely put. That's right. Some part of me knew that there was a jeopardy out there for me with this. I'd had arrhythmias. I had this very, very slow heart rate, and still had a very, So yes, I knew that was out there, but I had taken steps to ameliorate it. I had completely cut out alcohol. I tried to de-stress my life, and I tried to do all the things you should do: sleep better, vegetarian. Don't drink, don't smoke. I'm a vegetarian. Don't bother coming to one of my parties. I was trying to do everything I could. So, yes. What was the question?
Tell me why you wanted to record this interview with Dr. Nigel Stevens, who you've been seeing as well as your NHS cardiologist.
That's right. So Nigel is my...
I mean, who is he?
Yeah, right. Good question. So Dr. Nigel Stevens is an eminent cardiologist, and he's been very informative and instructive in the elite performance sector. So I think he started the whole Olympic testing program with up at Northwick Park, where they try and screen athletes who might have some kind of predisposition towards heart disease. Because he's an elite athlete himself, he does see athlete-related heart problems as part of the tribe. And for someone like me, or for someone who's a midlife cyclist who has an issue, walking into somebody who you can see and feel gets it. It's like he knows the science, but as he says, a lot of people know the science, but he also understands what's driving you forward and what may have put you in this position in the first place. He's one of us. In fact, he's headbanger in chief, if I'm honest.
You raced against each other?
Raced against each other, and we're more similar than either of us would like to be, or hope to be. Once the flag goes up, he and I are both definitely headbangers, no question, no quarter asked or given.
You started the interview with him talking about sharks, which might seem a bit strange to some people. So explain the idea that came into your mind, the simile, simile.
Sure. So the context of sharks, if you're a surfer and you love surfing and that's just your thing and you just want to get up on the board and ride the waves, the only spectre of fear out there, the only thing that's going to interrupt the flow of play is a shark, really. You might fall off your board, but the shark is the thing that's circling in the water. And for midlife athletes who still love intensive exercise, intensive cycling, riding up mountains and doing things that are ostensibly a little bit risky, for a lot of us, the only shark circling in the water is a cardiac one. We don't really think about falling off. We don't really think about other medical or issues that might be out there. The spectre is the shark, and that is cardiac, or heart disease for a lot of people. And that's why that chapter in the Midlife Cyclist is 20,000 words. The longest chapter outside of that one is 10,000 words. And that's the chapter I wrote first. The Will I Die chapter in the Midlife Cyclist is its calling card. Everything else is great and it's important. They have their own messages, but that Will I Die chapter is the calling card.
So why go and speak to him now, and why do this as we've recorded for this channel, and also for your Substack, and also for the CycleFit website? Why do that interview? Because it's a long interview.
Yeah, it is. I think we wrung him dry. Because it's 4 years since the Midlife Cyclist came out, over 4 years, and it's 5 years since I wrote it. And as Nigel says in the interview, there's a lot that's known, but there's a lot that's not known. And I wanted to revisit some of the big themes of the Midlife Cyclist as it pertains to heart disease, and say, well, what do we get right? What do we get wrong? What's been rethought? What added complexity can we bring in? And it was just time. You know, Nigel's really busy, I'm really busy. And the idea, and then you were down, it's like, oh my God, the three of us could get together and we could have this little crucible of, of knowledge sharing and catching up. And despite the fact we live quite close and he works very close to me and we see each other occasionally, it's like everybody, we don't really catch up that much or as much as we should. I'm either his patient or he's coming in for a bike fit or I'm referring him clients, but we never sit down like that, not as often as we should.
It's very difficult for you though as well because you're friends and you're a patient, a doctor, and you're also his bike fitter, and you've got to be sure what cap you're wearing, really, I suppose.
Yeah, but we're good at that. He and I
can segregate those thoughts.
Yeah, we're both world champions at that. He's either Nigel or he's Dr. Stevens, and there's nothing in between. So there's a Chinese wall. So if I'm talking to him about my heart, it's in a controlled space, and it's Dr. Stevens and it's Phil, and he has a different manner with me. If he's fallen off his bike and hurt himself, and he's coming in, it's Nigel. What have you done? And again, I'm his bike fitter. It's it's a very controlled environment. And then in the interview, you see a little bit of both, maybe, the fact that we have worked together a long time, but he's essentially Dr. Stevens. Occasionally you see Nigel, but that's Dr. Stevens. So he's very good at that. That's his, he's so professional. He keeps that delineation, which I totally respect.
I think sitting on the floor there, listening to it as I was, and then watching it back when we're editing it, and I know people will not have seen it at this stage if they're watching this, we cover a lot of things that people may think they know about, like heart rate variability, like atrial fibrillation, and they may not be sure whether it's relevant to them. I have to say that I found it incredibly useful, and I've spoken to a lot of people about this. His level of explanation in the sports context for an older folk who want to keep doing this was brilliant, I have to say, and all those little things that sound like they might just be sort of trite sayings like, oh, he's one of the tribe. It's not. He really can communicate to you at a level that works. So I do hope people will go with this. But I do want to ask you, what's your prognosis? Are you getting out on the bike at all?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I cycle. I feel great. I feel really good. I mean, I hope I look better.
You do. First thing I said to you when I walked in the door was, wow, okay, now I see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel fine. The pacemaker, I'm still getting to grips with the pacemaker, and there's another podcast, and there'll be some Substacks, and there's all kinds of stuff I can explore over there once I've finished with this book. I'm interested, I'm intrigued, because I'm one of the few people out there with a pacemaker who still wants to ride and, do some structured training, and not that much is known. But yeah, I can ride, but right now my pacemaker's capped at 130.
So that means your heart rate's capped at 130?
Well, this is an interesting thing. Yes, my heart rate's effectively capped at 130. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So is the plan to try and push it up or see how it goes?
Dr. Stevens. Yeah. I mean,
ask him.
That's right. Yeah. In a way, I'm a textbook case for him because I've sought good advice and I take it, and I don't really read much outside of it because if I need to know, I will be told. And I know that sounds quite passive for somebody who's a writer and a researcher, but the best advice when you've got something pretty serious going on, pay for good advice and take it. I probably need to do more reading around this than I have done, to be honest with you, but I've also been writing a book, which was late because of this issue. So I just had to get in a tunnel and write and finish this book off. That was my focus. Now, having finished the book, I do need to think a bit more intellectually about the pacemaker. I do.
One of the big thoughts that came out of the midlife cyclist, at least for me, was that we are the first group of people who want to keep, first generation of people who want to keep doing this as we get older, that our forefathers were kind of like, very often after a year working in heavy industry, were like, oh, right, I want to relax now I'm retired. And that doesn't really apply to us. I kind of wonder if now you are entering an area where things will go wrong. Things have started to go wrong with me. Things have gone wrong with you. Whether you are now in another new area, that you are the first people who not only have a pacemaker or perhaps have others will have advanced atrial fibrillation, but who want to keep doing that stuff. And because you're going to be writing the textbooks, both you and Dr. Stevens. You are literally the guinea pigs.
Yeah, that's right. And so, I mean, the code name or the code title I had for this piece that I'm doing with you on Substack and with Nigel is The Day After.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the midlife cyclist is a general thought piece around midlife exercise and cycling. But the next progression, you're absolutely right, is the day after. So something's happened. By the very fact that we're cycling and you're climbing mountains and we're doing all these things, the day after something's happened, we're not going to give up. And so, okay, we're not going to give up. So what does that mean?
How do we cope? How do we manage it?
Correct. And what's the best advice? What's the progression here?
Yeah.
What's the do's and don'ts? What's the science say? What doesn't the science say? So that, in a sense, this progression from the midlife cyclist is the day after. The shark's bitten you.
Yeah.
We got bitten.
Hopefully you've just had a nibble.
It's just had a nibble. It's taken a bit of your surfboard. Yeah, that's right. Bit of blood loss. What now?